ad lib here. Welcome everyone and thank you for coming. Just in case, you're going to hear more about why I want to have it here, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that we do have facilities back here. I was trying to figure out some logistics, and I really didn't like the idea of not being able to have it outside. So I'm Marilyn's daughter, Christy. There might be a couple of you here who don't know me. So welcome and thanks for coming. And obviously we are here to honor my mother, Marilyn. I also want to make sure that I say a special thanks to the Barquet Association for letting us have this venue and utilize the space, since we're no longer our family. Well, I guess my brother is, but we sold my mom's house a couple years ago, so she doesn't own property here anymore. So thank you for that. You'll hear more about this later, but you all know how much this mountain meant to Marilyn, and the Barquet Ranch is the perfect setting to have this, so, and celebrate her life. I'd like to introduce Marilyn's family who are present today. You guys can just raise your hands if you don't want to stand up. My sister Linda. Hi, Linda. My brother Eric, his wife Cecilia, and her son Paul. Can you guys hear me in the back?
Yes.
Great. And, oh, sorry, my husband Gordy. This is why you don't want to really look up too much from your notes. My husband Gordy, his son, my son, our son, Logan. His wife Heather, and I'm sure you guys probably all figured out this is my granddaughter Via. Okay. So first of all, in planning for this gathering, we decided to share copies of the handout from the celebration of life we held at her most recent residence, the Carillon, which is now called the Pearl. So you'll see a reference in there to that. The sunflowers on the border are a nod to Marilyn's brightly colored clothes for which she was known in her later years. Yeah. Let me read some of the titles we found on Marilyn's bookshelves. The Magnificent Mountain Women. Oh, yeah. The Last of the Wild West Cowgirls. I Married Adventure. Amazing Traveler. Women of the West, and A Lady's Life in the Rocky Mountains. As you can see from these titles, my mother admired adventurous women, so she decided to become one herself. Marilyn grew up in Ohio, where she had a very happy childhood with her younger brother and parents, eventually graduating from Oberlin College with a physical education degree. She then continued her education, receiving a physical therapy certification from the University of Wisconsin. She married my father, Al Fagerstrom, in 1953, eventually moving to Lincoln, Nebraska. After seeing all of her children firmly in place in school, she returned to the workforce at the University of Nebraska, teaching physical education and supervising student teachers for 25 years. That wasn't quite enough, so a few of those years also included coaching gymnastics. She also collaborated with a local guitarist to produce one of the first floor exercise albums for guitar instead of piano. She was extremely proud of that. It is on display here. And of course, since it was the 1960s, she still had to have dinner on the table every night by 6 o'clock. She took her physical education training seriously, becoming an early adopter of running, way before it became a cool thing to do. Of course, to her children, this was somewhat embarrassing. Nobody else's mother was running around the neighborhood in gym shorts. After many family camping trips to Colorado, she could not resist the lure of the mountains. So in 1972, she decided to purchase mountain property and build a vacation cabin. She chose the Barquet Ranch and had her pick of locations, as almost no one had built here yet. She single-handedly supervised the building of her stone cabin, where she later found so much peace and joy.
We did too.
She winterized her cabin and moved to the Barquet Ranch full-time after retiring in 1983. Skip forward. She laid down her retirement roots on this mountain, and from those roots she established the friendships. Those are pictures of her, she says. She established the friendships that would last the rest of her life. I've been told by numerous people. Sorry. Come stand here with me. You can stand here with me.
Boo Mom, Boo Mom.
No, Boo Mom, she's wonderful.
Just teasing.
Okay. I've been told by numerous people that she was considered the matriarch of the Barquet.
Definitely.
Marilyn quickly discovered that left-hand fire and rescue needed volunteers, so she jumped in enthusiastically, which resulted in a 30-plus year volunteer position. Her fire department respected her so much that they nominated her to carry the Olympic torch on a leg in Boulder for the 2002 Olympic Games in Salt Lake City. Some of you may have seen the torch in her cabin and later in her apartment, and it is here on display. She later received additional fire training and became a public information officer, working for the interagency fire responders across the country, where she reported on many major wildfires. This always made her pretty cool with the grandkids. Not many grandkids can brag that their grandma is a firefighter. The quilt you see displayed here was made from many of the t-shirts she accumulated on her numerous wildfire adventures. Thank you to Quirky Quilters of Nederland, who donated so much of their time to make this quilt for Marilyn. She also found plenty of time to travel. Just some of the countries she visited included China, Russia, India, Nepal, the Galapagos Islands, Australia, New Zealand, Egypt, Tahiti, and numerous European countries. None of them held the allure of the Colorado mountains, though. Sorry, France. Thank you for showing those. Starting a new chapter in her life, Marilyn moved from her cabin to the Carillon in Boulder in 2015. She was the new kid on the block. The residents and staff embraced her and welcomed her with open arms. Her personality was reflected in her choice of clothing. Bright, bright, and bright. I know she loved getting comments on all of her colorful socks. My sister and I always made fun of them. She continued to ignore us and wear them anyway. When she came home from her last hospital visit, it was a joy to her family to see how firsthand firsthand how many of her friends, both old and new, reached out to say goodbye to her, showing us what a well-respected member of the community she had become. I need a drink, sorry.
We'll fix you one.
Marilyn was Marilyn right up to the end. When she knew she was not going to recover, she still maintained her sense of humor and wanted to put her house in order. She asked me to make sure to cancel her hair appointment that last week. And she made sure I knew where she wanted her ashes scattered. And even though it became difficult for her to talk, she was still telling golf jokes. Despite her last years being spent in Boulder, her real passion was the mountains and her piece of paradise right here on the Barquet Ranch. Her 30-plus years here are well represented today. The various Nederland groups, including Nederland Area Seniors, the Writing Group, and the Quirky Quilters. We have a couple of friends here from Lincoln. And where on earth George Armbruster showed up from New York, but there he is. I was recently very touched by an email I received from her firefighting friend, Fritz Koch. And since Fritz was unable to be here today, I want to share some of it with you. Here is what he wrote in 2001 when nominating Marilyn to carry the Olympic torch. At 54, Smokey Bear has nothing on this tough, yet classy, awe-inspiring mountain spirit. Retired college professor, mother of 3, active granddaughter of 6. Active grandmother of 6. Revered friend of many. Jogger, hiker, skier, downhill and cross country. Fitness coordinator and volunteer firefighter / EMT for 20 years and counting. This young lady has battled U.S. wildfires all across the West, even Montana's of last summer, and she's still out fighting. This was written in 2001. Marilyn Fagerstrom, may your flame never flicker. A friend's 8-year-old boy said it best. I want to be like Marilyn. If only everyone had a 70-year-old role model. Fritz went on to say more, and in practicing this speech, I repeatedly found myself too choked up to read it. So my sister is going to read this next part.
The pressure's on. I don't know if I can do much better, but I'll try. So this is Fritz still speaking. Finally, I'm reminded of a magical little poem I once saw in Marilyn's amazing Barquet cabin. In fact, after I lost my own home and dogs in a 1998 fire, she presented a copy to me, and it may well have been what got me through my most tragic time. I still proudly have it on display here in Longmont, and hopefully it will bring you and your family some peace as well. And this is the poem that he enclosed, that Christy still hasn't been able to read through. It's pretty emotional. The mountains rise to protect me, to hold me fast. They surround me like a fortress. Their valleys and canyon floors cradle me. Their bright colors comfort me, and their wildlife sings to me. I belong here. My soul comes from the mountains, and someday, when death claims me, I will be a part of their glory, howling with the wolves, singing with the birds, smiling with the wildflowers. I belong here. This poem is displayed here with other mementos, and copies are also on the picnic tables. And yes, Marilyn will remain here. I speak on behalf of all my siblings in saying what a great role model my mom was for all of us. We were told we could do and be anything we wanted to be in life. I will always be grateful for her encouragement, support, and love for each of us. One of the last things my mother said during her last week alive was, "I have lived a wonderful life." We appreciate all of you for being a part of her wonderful life. In a few minutes, we're opening the gathering to any comments or stories that people would like to share about Marilyn. In that vein, Christy, are you recovered? Christy was going to start out things with a story about Marilyn and her funky cabin.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't get if I could get as far as "I belong here," it was game over. So, alrighty. So, some of you Barkayers may remember part of this. Marilyn wrote an article in the spring 2012. Think back, the spring 2012 edition of the Barkay newsletter that she shared with me called "Spring Cleaning in Paradise." It was funny and witty and well written and addressed with good humor all the challenges she faced in cleaning her cabin with its high ceilings, skylights, and non-code spiral staircase. But what really grabbed my attention was that my 81-year-old petite mother somehow thought it was okay to haul a full-size Kirby vacuum, Kirby,
Boat anchor.
up that spiral staircase and back down again. And up to then, this was unbeknownst to me. I had repeatedly suggested to her that she get a house cleaner even before that, and she steadfastly refused, saying she actually enjoyed house cleaning. And more than one discussion had taken place about that spiral staircase. Well, this all led to yet another discussion about how unsafe that spiral staircase was for someone her age, and I actually wrote a rebuttal to her article, which I titled "Spring Cleaning in Paradise 2. This was partly because I was so concerned that people might think I was a horrible daughter to let her haul that Kirby up and down that staircase. But, as I previously mentioned, Marilyn was Marilyn, which meant she wasn't going to let her daughter tell her what to do. So, in the end, a compromise was reached. The staircase stayed. There was never a house cleaner, and a small dirt devil was purchased and left upstairs for vacuuming from then on.
Good.
So there's just an example of how tough and independent Marilyn was. And now, if anyone would like to say a few things about Marilyn, the floor is open for comments, stories. We would love to hear all the things that you are willing to publicly share. And if not publicly, come and talk to us afterwards. We really want to hear your stories. And we have the mic. If people can't come up here, Sal, can they have the mic handed to them?
Within the length of
If
the line.
anybody has trouble, I know it's uneven ground and we don't want people falling. But the mic worked really well for me. I was not feeling quite so much like I had to holler. So it looks like my sister-in-law Cecilia is like half on her feet already.
This is from Paul Landis, Marilyn's brother. He says, "I am so sorry. Mary Jo and I couldn't couldn't be there to celebrate Marilyn's life with all of you. Mary always had a special place in my heart as an older sister. She was a competitor, an achiever, and a leader. All things I admired about her. Even though the miles separated us, I always felt close. It's just too difficult for me to express my true feelings about Mare in a text. I am just happy that I was able to spend time with her before she made her final transition. She is and will continue to be missed. Love, Uncle Paul.
Next, can you come up?
I can, I'll try.
Awesome.
I'll bend down, don't worry.
Sal. No, that's why we got Sal. He's.
Thanks, Sal. Don't trip over the.
This is what he does. Watch the cord. Yeah.
Okay. My name is John Miller. I live down in Lake of the Pines now. Back in 2001, that Fritz was talking about, I was an engine boss with Left Hand Fire, and Madam Claudia Kutcher and Marilyn and I were dispatched to Mesa Verde. We didn't have a lot to do in Mesa Verde, but we got moved from there up into Montana. And in those days, we didn't drive our engines. They moved them on big flatbed semi-trailers. When it arrived, it was broken, and we had to deal with that. But more so, we've been traveling for 3 days without a shower. And we arrived at the Forest Service outpost late afternoon and said, where can we stay and get a shower? They said, well, sorry, you're going to set up your tent in the backyard here and have to deal with it. And I said, I'm going to find a place for us to stay. So we didn't have cell phones in those days. Somehow, and by the way, this is Libby, Montana. The biggest Superfund site in the world, I think. And so I found a motel out of town and went to the Forest Service, went to the incident commander or whatever it was, check-in. And they said, you can't stay there. We won't let anybody stay there. And I said, oh, you want to bet? And Claudia and Marilyn agreed. We went to this motel outside of town. And the first thing I did, they were up on the second floor of this rickety old building. I was in a little kind of cabin that had a shotgun hole through the door. And that was a clue. The second clue was the vice grip on the hot water in the shower. But that was all right, it worked. I walked upstairs to check on the ladies, and there's some guy looking down through their blinds at them. Did you ever know that, Claudia?
No, it's news to me.
Well, Marilyn was a firefighter. We fought fire well after dark when we were the only engine in the neighborhood putting out spot fires. She dug line on one day that we were dispatched to dig line. She was a heck of a firefighter, a wonderful companion, and a good friend.
John, thank you for recapping Montana. We actually were gone for 7 weeks.
Oh, my God.
I want to tell you what a friend is. A friend mentors you, trusts you, leads you. She was my confidant. She invited me to join the Netherlands seniors at lunch, which brought me to write all of the adventures we have. She invited me to her Mountain Old Ladies Literary Society book club, aka Malls. I would have never read a book ever if it wasn't for Marilyn and the group.
Really?
So that's the kind of friend, 30 years, that you can never forget, and I never will forget her. And believe me, she put up with a lot of my antics, and she never judged me. That's a friend. And I will never forget her, and she's in my heart forever. And I'll see you later, Marilyn.
Hi, I'm Diana Nelson, and Al and I lived on a sailboat long before I ever met Christy. I knew Marilyn. She booked a trip with us and spent a week with us on a pretty small sailboat. I don't know if I should even share this. She was worried about a vacuum going up a spiral staircase. I saw Marilyn jump into dinghies, race up and down companionways. Physically, she moved around that boat like no other guest we've ever had. But I think my fondest memory of Marilyn is she gets the all-time award for being the most fun person and open-minded person we've ever had on our boat. She wanted to go everywhere. She wanted to do everything. And every night she said, well, we can do this the next day. And it was just a joy to have her on the boat. I also don't know if the family, I got to see a more flirty Marilyn than probably anybody else saw. We had 3 guests that week, and I saw Marilyn get dolled up, put on her makeup, and have a great time with one of the male guests. Anyway, we have fond memories of Marilyn, and I now know where Christy gets her fun-loving nature.
I think she was a lot younger then than when I was yelling at her about that spiral staircase.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Patty Olson, and I live in Barkay. So, many years, this was probably early 90s, we were having the Barkay annual picnic, and it's in this space, but there were no tables, no canopies, nothing. And everybody who wanted a seat brought their own chair. So Marilyn's sitting over here on kind of uneven ground, and I don't really know her, but I watched this woman slowly keel over backwards, and she just rolled up, stood up like, and that is my lasting impression of her. It was so remarkable.
Maria, are you going now? Yeah. Okay, go on.
He knows how to use his
I know. I'm Paul Rosenek, and Marilyn and I met way back in 1986 when we went to Fire Academy together. And I remember her then as one who would jump in and just grab whatever needed to be done as you're learning it. And a lot of people don't realize in 1988, Marilyn went to Yellowstone to fight the fires. For 3 weeks she was up there. For 3 weeks they slept underneath the tanker. Except for the last night, they finally found them a room where they could go in and have a shower and sleep in a bed. So she was kind of crazy. We'd go on fires and she would always ask, what are we going to do? And then she would just do it. She'd always ask what to do, but she would always get there and know what to do. So I remember her for that. So thanks.
I just have a quick message from Marilyn. I'm Serene, and I know her from the writing group, and of course even before that with Netherland Area Seniors. And she had been working on memoirs. She wrote several of them, I believe, but she didn't finish all of the memoirs and compiling them into a book. Luckily, Claudia is picking that up and writing her own memoirs right now, and we're pushing her very hard to get those firefighting memoirs done. But for everyone here, your histories are so rich, your memories are so strong, and even if you think, well, maybe I don't have kids or I don't have grandkids, or who's going to want to read this stuff? Take some time. If you're not a writer, meet with one. Get those stories on paper so that it's not just a collection of a few little anecdotes at your memorial event, but there's something really lasting that tells your tale.
Careful, Jeanette. Yeah, there's a cord there. Sal's concerned about the cord. Hi. I've known Marilyn. Actually, I met her grandsons first, and then I met Marilyn. And I had her grandson, Zach, and watched over him in preschool and kindergarten and first and second grade, just to make sure that he got okay, it was okay on the playground. And then I met Paul, and he went to school with my granddaughter, Anastasia Snelling, from kindergarten to 12th grade. Then I met Marilyn, and Mike, my husband, just thought she was the neatest. And we'd go to senior lunch and writing group and many, many senior hikes, and with Dave Felkley, and so always good times. And then we were a part of our Red Hat group, and I've got so many photos of Marilyn either on hikes or with our Red Hat groups. And then when she moved to Boulder, then I'd visit her there and then visit my husband in Longmont. He was at the Life Care Center of Longmont. And she'd give me shoes and whatever. Anyway, she was the best friend I ever had.
Thanks. I think I claim Marilyn as my best friend, too. I've known Marilyn since Lincoln. She actually met my husband first. He was in the physical education department at the University of of Nebraska when she was. And I remember, I don't really think I met her in Lincoln.
Oh, really?
I think I met her when we came up to camp. We had a camper, and I remember coming up to the place where she was going to have the cabin and walking with the water witch.
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember that. And then I went off to art camp, and my husband and kids camped at the place, I guess. Anyway, Marilyn and I have stayed friends forever, and I came to every birthday party. I'm sure that's how I've spent my New Year's Eve the rest, for all of my life. But Marilyn and Al and Bob and I, my husband and I, used to hike on the St. Vrain Trail. Is it called the St. Vrain Trail? And there's a rock about an hour in, and what?
Miller Rock?
No, not Miller Rock. Lori's Rock. It's my rock. The big flat rock where we picnicked every time. And so, yeah, you have to rewrite that. Anyway, so hiking with Marilyn. Marilyn also went with us to Prince Edward Island. I became an elder hostel coordinator, and the previous elder hostel coordinator at the University of Northern Colorado went up to Prince Edward Island to raise her family there, and Marilyn
went with us for a week to Prince Edward Island. So that was another special memory with her. And when I came, when she moved to Boulder, I would come about every 2 weeks, and we read together. When her macular degeneration kind of kicked in, and she wasn't reading anymore, I was reading the books aloud to her. I read Michener books to her. I read nonfiction, you know, a lot of books to her. Whenever I'd come and stay, she'd always have me move the quilt just a couple of turns so that, you know, she could enjoy all of the quilt T-shirts. And so those are my special memories. I miss her a lot. Yeah.
I want to talk, but I have to have it brought to me. I can't get up.
Can you do that, Sal? Yeah. Okay. Hang on. Phil's going to talk.
Okay, I'm after.
Go
Bill.
ahead. Okay, yeah, Eric and then Phil.
Oh, Eric, yeah.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm Marilyn's son. I don't.
It's okay. Take a minute. Take a minute. Take some breaths.
I don't know if I've met all of you, and I'm sure I haven't. But I'm a very unemotional man. I suddenly find myself very emotional, and the strength in my mother has certainly made me the man I was. She had to deal with me from the very beginning, as me and my father certainly had troubles. Seeing eye to eye as soon as I thought I was all grown up when I was 14 and couldn't tell me anything. My mother certainly understood the free spirit that I had to be then, but I owe so much to her and everything she was. I'm sorry.
Hopefully it doesn't scream at us.
Thank you, Eric.
She was
Okay,
your
you
biggest
taking it.
advocate.
Come on.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Conway, and this is ancient
Closer,
history.
closer to your mouth. Closer. No, just put your mouth closer.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that better?
Yeah, just hold it right up to your mouth. Yeah.
I'm Phyllis Conway, and I said this is ancient history because I go back further than all of you except Christy and Linda and Eric. That we lived in Lincoln, a block away from the Fagerströms, and Christy was in the same kindergarten as my daughter Kay, and they were good friends. We went. Marilyn, I met Marilyn, well, probably through the kids in school, but she and I became Girl Scout leaders in Lincoln, and she was always the organizer, and we had a lot of good times. And anyway, then my husband and I and Al and Marilyn were good friends. We traveled together. We went to New Zealand and some other places. And we moved to Colorado. We bought our place in Estes Park in 1982. And let's see, Marilyn built her house in
76.
76, yeah.
The building permit says 76.
Yeah, okay. She was out here, and then we would come summers because we had professions in Lincoln. But we spent a lot of time up at Marilyn's house up here on the ranch, and they spent a lot of time with us down in Estes. So, like I said, ancient history, but she, such a wonderful, wonderful friend, and just a fun person, and I loved coming up here and being with her. I loved having her come down. I was in the book club with her. I went to Netherlands to the senior center dinners and lots of other things. Anyway, and trips up with Lori and her husband too. Anyway, what a wonderful memory. I'm sorry it's a memory, but it's a wonderful one. And so I'm just overcome with grief that she's not with us, but I know that she did have a wonderful life and she was a wonderful friend.
Thank you, Jeanette. I forgot to mention that one of the ladies that used to be in Netherlands, Betty Van Trilla, she always talked about making a quilt out of Marilyn's t-shirts, and we did it, and it was marvelous. Many people helped. They brought sewing machines, ironing boards, and cut up all of those t-shirts and put it all together. That great big, she's on display here. That was one good thing that you did for her.
I'll add to that story, just real quick. Okay, I was part of the quilting group, and she had so many t-shirts. I mean, when we started putting them together, you usually back a quilt with something, a solid material, something. She had so many. I'll make sure you look at it because it is backed. Every t-shirt we put to use. Every fire she fought, she got a t-shirt. We put to use, and front and back is quilted. And it was a pleasure putting it together. That's when I met Marilyn, really. I knew Krista before that. But it was so heavy, she couldn't carry it. She really could not carry it. So,
So wonderful.
yeah, that to me, that's the story I remember of Marilyn struggling with this t-shirt. T-shirt quilt. She didn't want us to touch it after we gave it to her. She was going to do it herself.
Actually, I'm going to add to that too. And then, well, let me just do this while you take.
Oh, I just was going to say, my sister helped me. She wrote most of this statement, and she had originally put in there, the quilt was made from all the t-shirts that she collected, and Gordy and I corrected her because she wasn't here when this happened, but she had this duffel bag that I could not lift. It was like, and so we had to take out the word all because they didn't use all the t-shirts. they used as many as they could.
He's coming.
We just go like this.
I think so.
I think that's good. Okay, thanks, Sal. I have been fortunate enough to be Marilyn's neighbor. I live here in the Barquet, and I'm one house south of where she lived. I have two children who admired Marilyn very much, and when she ran with the Olympic torch, they insisted that we go see her, and she told them where they could meet her after she ran, and she insisted that they held the torch and took a picture with it, which they remember. They can't be here today, but they each wrote a little message and a memory, and as any good mother, I read what they wrote, and they're in their 30s now. But my daughter
wrote what a wonderful role model she was. She used to stop by and talk to the kids, and one summer when they were 18, she found out they weren't doing anything, and she hooked them up with the fire department and said, y'all are going to work and mitigate up here in the Barquet, which I thought, thank goodness, it was good hard work and kept them out of trouble. And they got to give back to the community. So I thought that was all great. But Santina was very impressed with what a wonderful, strong woman Marilyn was and how hardworking she was. My son also wrote about her work ethic and how that has made an impact on him to this very day. So she really had an impact on younger people as well, and I just wanted to share that.
I'm Heather. I'm Logan's wife, but I grew up in Ned with Logan, and I think something that's so interesting about Marilyn is that she had 4 grandsons go through the Netherlands school system. Christy was a substitute in the school system, but in Netherlands, when you say who you're related to in this family, it starts with Marilyn. That's who people know, even though she didn't have kids it was her grandsons, and she just was so made herself known wherever she went. And I think it's really amazing that you can be a matriarch of the family like that still, and that's who you're known for being related to in Netherlands when you're in this family, which is pretty cool. A pretty cool legacy. So, do you want to say anything? Via got to spend quite a bit of time with Marilyn. Christy brought her over a lot, and Marilyn was always so great about letting Via play with her. Yeah, you want to turn? With who? Who did you play with at Great Grandma's? Blue kitty. Yeah, there was a blue kitty that. It's a giant blue stuffed cat that if you ever went to her apartment, was there, and she was always so happy to see Via play with Blue Kitty, huh? Yeah.
Okay, so I had some silly stories that I told at the other one, so I'll just sort of tell those again. So let's see. So just silly things that we did, and things that were impactful with Grandma as your grandma. I remember getting paid when I was like 14 years old to haul firewood, and I would come over to her house, and she would be out there without a shirt on working, doing firewood when she was like 75. So
probably had a sports bra.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Sorry. She had a sports bra. Clarity is key.
Details.
Yes. Other things. I think that Grandma was not just best friends with all the people on the mountain. I think she was also best friends with the bears. Probably everybody had to deal with helping her with her bird feeder that would always, get destroyed by the bears. That was when we knew it was bear season. We would get a call, and Dad would have to go fix the bird feeder. But she stuck it out. She always had it every year. We were always walking around. Whenever it would rain, I would go over there, and we would forage for some mushrooms, and we would just cook them up on the old wood stove there. And then I think one of the funniest stories, and there are a bunch of fire people here to fact check me, but she had a really bad shovel for a long time, right? Like the tip was all dented and folded over, and she was going up to Montana or something. It was a really big fire, and Dad had just bought a new shovel for himself, and as I remember, he ended up letting her borrow the shovel, and then when Grandma came back, she said that she got made fun of for bringing a brand new shovel to the fire. So that was my memory. Anyway, she was she was really one of a kind, and truly a trailblazer, and somebody who I think people, but especially women everywhere, should look up to. She was a real role model.
Further to the spiral staircase story, would you like to share what you and Justin like to do off the loft?
Yeah, well, the spiral staircase was great for, the rail spacing was, again, not to code. A small child could easily fit through, and so you could climb up the staircase and you could jump down onto the sofa that was right below. Grandma didn't like that, so we did it when she wasn't around.
Like when she went out for firewood.
Yeah, when she went out for firewood, yeah.
More fire stories?
Okay.
No? What? Oh, who wants to talk about her parties?
Jason's volunteer barber.
Well, I know she had I think a lot of you who hung out with her real regularly do know that her birthday was on New Year's Eve. So she always had a New Year's Eve party, and I came to a lot of them, but she had so many friends. She didn't need me there. It was obvious she didn't need me there, and I didn't know if Betty or Carolyn had any. After Marilyn moved to Boulder, many of you know that Betty and Carolyn back here rented her house, and I understand there were some parties then too. So, yeah, but that's fine. And anybody, if you don't feel comfortable sharing publicly, we're gonna have some lunchy kind of refreshment stuff, and we'd love to hear your stories privately. If you don't want to speak in public, that's fine. We get it. Anybody else before I say my last? Okay, twisted his arm. Here he comes.
Yeah, I'm Buddy. Most of you know me, and I know most of you. Marilyn was a wonderful person, and she saved me from having to camp in a tent through the winter. I knew she was getting ready to move to assisted living, and she wasn't happy about it, but she couldn't see anymore, and she was having trouble driving, and I had been plowing her driveway for, I don't know if I plowed the big snow. I think you might have took care of that, but I'd been plowing all the heavy snows to her driveway, so I got to know her pretty good, and she was telling me she didn't really want to go move in and leave her place, and I was living in a tent, and I was like, well, Marilyn, you got 2 bedrooms, right? And I was like, maybe I could move in and kind of help you out, and I could have a place to live that wasn't a tent in the wintertime. And she was like, oh, darn it, I just wrote him the check. I just got the place I wanted. Oh, I would do that. But that's how we ended up renting from her. And it was kind of a cool deal. It was, in the beginning, it was like, well, if she wanted to come up and spend the weekend, she could still do that. And I think the only time she ever spent there was when we were gone at Thanksgiving, visiting our family, but she did spend some time there. But I think that made it easier for her to say goodbye. And I don't know, I just want to say I feel very fortunate.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
It does just go. Anybody else? do you have things that you want to say about my mom? Come on up.
Just talk about Marilyn,
right?
I feel like I think with the bum of a family and Peggy Cohen.
Okay, here you go. Tell everybody who you are, too. There's some people here who don't know you.
Hi guys, I'm actually Jason Bewell, and I live with up here. And actually, I know Dada, and I'm also Jason Bewell, and I'm the oldest son of Bob and Tom. And well, my dad was here, but he had to go back up because he had somebody doing something. So. And my mom is here. She's up there with the people hanging out, and also, and I'm the bouquet sheriff, of the bouquet. So, and I'm also Jason, and all of you know me. If some of you don't, well, I don't know. So.
Everybody knows you, Jason.
Well, yeah, thank you, Sal.
Jason, what do you remember about my mother, Marilyn?
Well, we remember Marilyn many years ago when we all had parties and everything, and even when my brothers and my sister and I were actually little. Actually, we all knew Christy and Cody House, followed by with Logan and Justin, because many times when we used to play together, we always visit with your grandmother and everything, and you guys are the word and the glue to your grandmother, and that we know that. And even we were so close, best friends to Gordon and Christy, and also Marilyn, because we do parties together. We do volleyball parties. Marilyn always enjoys life, and a lot of best friends actually know those, like to Claudia, also Paula Cleo, and everybody else. So, and that's the reason why that I know that we all knew actually Marilyn, because Marilyn has been she's a great person, and she's a great grandmother to Justin and Logan, and she's also a good and a special mother to both of Christy Howe and her sister. So, yeah, by the way, well, she has a lot of good memories of Marilyn, because we all knew that, because she loved people, and people like all of us actually up here actually right now, and some others actually that couldn't make it because was later Bob and Myron, they couldn't be here because they're always busy. And also even to Linda Seaboat, she couldn't be here because she had to leave the day before, because she had to go to her trip to visit her sister. So I know that Linda Seaboat knows Marilyn and everybody else, and so many years when we knew Marilyn, actually, because Marilyn is a one of our life to all, and the best grandmother, and the best mother to Christy and her sister, and we all actually do that. So, and that's why that we all became very close family friends with Marilyn, and also Christy and her whole family. and also with the Rosnicks and the Seaboats and Claudia and everybody, and even Patty Olsen too, because she is the whole glue actually of the whole scene too as well. So many times that we knew Marilyn, because we all had the best times actually in life actually with her, and many parties, many years, lives. We all actually knew everybody actually before actually whatever. So, but that's all actually on that. So, but Melanie loved all of us, and really, and she's right now a very happy, special person to everybody, and the house, and everyone, and well, and
Okay, that's good.
all right, thank you very much. It's okay.
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 Way to go.
All right. Last call for the mic. I just wanted to say one more thing. Well, we're going to have the family kind of pull out some stuff out of the cooler, for refreshments and stuff. And I know some of you have already been hanging out over here at this table. There are boxes and boxes of pictures that I haven't been through yet. But I was trying really hard to see if I could find as many as I could, that people who would come today might enjoy. And a lot of you people are, I think, in some of these pictures. So if you are taking the time to look at them, if you see any pictures that you'd like to have, we have hundreds and hundreds of pictures back at my house, and help yourself. I'm pretty sure there's some of Paul and Claire, and I'm looking around here. I just haven't had time to look at them, but there are, I think, 2 sets of fire pictures, and they potentially have more meaning to you fire people than they do to me. So you're welcome to help yourselves to the photos. And if nobody else wants to speak, Gordy? Let's see. We need a couple minutes. Family, can you go help Heather and Via, please? And I'll be hanging out here. Whoever wants to come talk to me. Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, we probably don't need 5 people here. I'm just opening this, so you guys can just open it.